So some of you have found my channel due to a video that I have that's seen several hundreds of thousands of views called Bananas Are Proof of God's Existence, and a lot of people are interested in my spirituality. I still get emails about it. So I wanted to approach that topic again tonight. If that interests you, you should keep watching. Otherwise, you should find something more interesting to do. But one of the guys that I watch called the Amazing Atheist, I'm sure many of you know him, posted a video recently answering 20 questions posed towards atheists. And I was interested in this, but it's kind of bizarre because I'm not atheist. I'm agnostic. I think a lot of you know that. Just for those of you who are not aware, atheism is truly believing that there most likely is no God due to the lack of evidence of a God. And then agnosticism, I'm open to the idea. So I would be agnostic. Even though I'm not a true atheist, I found the questions very interesting, and I found the ones that I would like to answer. So if you'd like to hear, I'm going to start answering them now. So.
Number 1, where do you get your morality from, and please explain your morality?
Where do I get my morality from? Common sense. My morality is almost entirely based on social norm, I guess. I pretty much believe that we should obey the laws of the place that you live in, and beyond following those laws, there are personal laws that you probably you yourself have come up with. You know, I for example don't ever want to cause harm to any other person. It's a personal choice. There are ways to harm other people that I could get away with, certainly, that are within the realm of law and reason. I would never want to do those things because I'm a good person, and I would always choose to do what I feel is good, you know. So where does my morality come from? It comes from my own personal rules and my own personal laws, based almost exclusively on what I feel in my heart is correct. So in detail, what is my morality? To be good to other people in the hopes that, you know, they will continue to be good to me, and we can create a society, polite society, in which people are good to other people, and you create a healthy, happy environment for everyone to live their lives. So that's basically my morality. To do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, which is an excellent idea, one that certainly exists inside the Christian Bible, but also existed certainly for millennia more than before the Christian Bible. Certainly. So.
2, why do you accept evolution? Explain how you came to your conclusions. 3.
Why do I accept evolution? Because I personally have seen evidence that explains how evolution has impacted our lives. I know I've watched pathogen reproduce under a microscope. I have seen the different links of animals. I can study biology and see the different genus and different mutations of animals that have existed throughout history. I've seen fossils that I've personally myself dug up fossils from an excavation site that proved to me that these creatures existed. I believe that carbon dating can help us prove the timeline in which these creatures existed, and I've gone to the Natural History Museum in DC at the Smithsonian and viewed gigantic dinosaur bones that came from the ground, and I trust other people to create an acceptable, knowledgeable library of information that I have studied myself and understood. And I come back to my original morality again here, that certainly these could all be lies and poppycock, but almost guaranteed that since most of us do live by that common moral code that I live by, which is to do no harm if that's not necessary, then why would anyone feel the need to lie, right? So that's why I accept evolution, because clearly evolution has happened. There's pounds and mounds and mounds and mounds of evidence.
What is the meaning and purpose of your life?
What is the meaning and purpose of any life? Is there meaning and purpose to life? Life is this thing, and it's inexplicable, and I certainly cannot begin to explain it. What's the meaning and purpose of my particular life? For me to do the best that I can to enjoy my life to the best of my ability, and to help the other people around me that I care about to enjoy their lives as well. I mean, and that as far as I can tell, is the exclusive purpose of my particular life. And I've chosen never to want to breed, to bring children into the world or raise them. But if I was a breeder, that would additionally be a purpose of my life to propagate the species. Just because, once again, back to my morality, because it's good for the species. I mean, to have a kid that'll one day grow up to be a taxpayer, maybe president, who knows? But I didn't feel that I would make a responsible parent, so I've always informed anyone I've ever dated that I wasn't interested in kids. But my personal use for life is to enjoy it. I hope that's everybody's use for life.
4. What is the greatest thing you have ever done for others?
What is the greatest thing I have ever done for others? Am I selfish to say that this is it? I've always tried to be somewhat self-sacrificing and to try to take care of people, whether it be my family or my friends or people outside of my life. I've never done anything crazy like donate $1 million to charity. I've never. I've given people who needed a place to stay a place to crash. I fed people who didn't have food. I gave clothing to a guy who was my size who couldn't afford his own clothing. I have taken care of my friends and my family, and these are all small sacrifices, certainly. But I like to think, because they brought me pleasure and they brought other people pleasure, that they count for something. But I've done nothing grand or great. I've certainly never died on a cross, though, for the sake of humanity, but I don't think anybody has, actually.
5. Would you kill for atheism?
No, that would be ludicrous. I wouldn't kill for any reason. I can't fathom a reason that I would kill. I wouldn't kill a murderer. I personally would never choose to kill. I think there would always be an alternative. And if I needed to kill someone to keep the idea that there's no... I can't even fathom what it even means to kill somebody for atheism. Like, if there's a particular person who will eradicate the concept of atheism from the earth, and if I don't kill him, that will happen, then that happens, I guess. I'm not going to kill anybody.
6. Why are you an atheist and consider your position valid?
Well, once again, I'm not a true atheist. I'm agnostic. I'm kind of right up the middle. I believe that there's the possibility that there could be a God of some sort, though I'm almost fairly certain that no religion on the planet has it correct. And the reason I feel this way is because all of these books are flawed. All the ones that I've read, all the ones that have been introduced to me, do not make sense. And I also just kind of know it in my heart. And if you guys know it in your heart that there's a God, then it's no more or less invalid for me to know it in my heart. That there may not be. And I still am open to the idea. I'm waiting for sufficient evidence. So, certainly I'm not going to fight you too terribly hard on the topic. If you wish to believe, that's great. But when you bring evidence, when you have evidence, then I will believe, the same way that I believe in everything else that I have evidence. My shirt is blue, my walls are white, Princess Leia there in the back is attractive,
7. If you died and discovered a God existed, what would you say to he, she, or it?
I'd be like, hey, God, what the fuck? I hate to question God. If someone actually sat down and designed this universe that we live in which our fathers die of cancer, our mothers, have mental imbalances, that we can become addicted to food, that black babies are born in the desert and starve to death without ever tasting anything other than their mother's milk, and very little of that because their mother has no food, or warlords run rampant, or bombs are created. I mean, why? What? How? I mean, how could cancer, man, AIDS, any of this, man, how? How could you conceive of this? How is this a good idea to you? I want a fucking explanation, you know? I mean, that's the one thing that I want more than anything, is why, how? How could you think this was a good idea? What possible means, you know? Though, in all likelihood, I think if there is a God, and if he did create the universe, it was accidental at best. I certainly can't believe he's in charge of this.
8. What religion is the most dangerous in your eyes today and in the past?
Let's see, the Amazing Atheist said that Christianity was the most dangerous religion of the past, and that's certainly very much true. Modern day, it's probably a toss-up between Islam and Christianity. More specifically, I think maybe Catholicism. But it really depends on what you consider dangerous. I mean, who's more likely to go plant a bomb in a synagogue? I guess that would be a fundamental Islamic, you know, a crazy fundamental Islamic. Who's more likely to go down the street in their shotgun shooting Islamics, or shooting, you know, people who worship, you know, Islamic faith? Would be a redneck Christian. Really, I think they're kind of neck and neck. You know, I think right now we've got more Islamic activists who, you know, and I know that's like 1 in a million people. I get that, but you know, there's that chance that you know, that crazy person will go do something who happen to be Islamic. I think it's equally likely with Christianity. Maybe they're slightly more motivated, the Islamic fundamentalists, but I mean, I've seen some really crazy shit go down in my lifetime due to Christian beliefs.
9. Name 3 peaceful religions you have no issue with.
Are there any peaceful religions? And if there are, tell me about them, and I will consider it. Are there any religions I don't have issue with? I don't have really true issue with any religion. Believe what you want. Hell, be a Pastafarian. Believe in the noodly appendaged flying spaghetti monster. That's great. I don't really care. Just don't harm other people. Back to that moral code, right?
10. What would it take to believe in a God? 11.
Proof, evidence, same scientific qualities I expect from pretty much everything else I believe in. I believe that water is wet because when I put my hand in it, it becomes wet. I know that when other things absorb water, they become wet. The quantity that I know is wet. And so I can perform this experiment over and over and over again. I pour water onto something, and that something, you know, assumes the qualities of what I consider wet, and it's wet. And that's scientific, obvious, repeatable, and I want that in a God. I want to be able to go, hey, there's God. I see God. I know God. God created things. I watched him create things. I watched him create a lot of things. I watched him create my friend Steve, and he probably created me. There's no direct evidence that they created me. There's video of it, you know, but yeah, I would want a repeatable, obvious, evidential example of God. Period.
Would the world be a better place without religion?
I had this discussion with my roommate quite some time ago. If religion had never been invented, then no. Because in all likelihood, in my opinion, what kept cavemen from killing each other's tribes probably had something to do with religion. I think the first guy to set down the spear and say maybe we shouldn't kill Mbutu because, you know, there might be a crazy cloud man in the sky that will rain fire upon us if we do. Yeah, that's an important step in the evolution of humanity. So sure, but do we need it today? Do I feel it's a necessary part of modern day America or the modern day world? Not necessarily. And if it were to slowly die out and disappear, I don't think we'd be much worse off than we are now, which is pretty badly off already.
12. How do you feel about government and politics? 13.
How do I feel about government and politics? I don't necessarily like government, mostly because I feel that small government is better, and I think a lot of governments in the country are more about power than helping their people. They're more about self-gain and gain of the people that are in power. But for the most part, most governments do their jobs, so I can't argue with it. I wish that we had smaller government, but that's really not that important.
If you could go back in time and kill Hitler/Stalin as babies so they will never kill the millions in the future, would you do it if time travel was possible?
The atheist brings up a really interesting point here. What if I were to kill Hitler and someone took his place that was more competent and more capable? Or as the same for Stalin, or you pick any person in history, and it's impossible to really want to do that, mostly because time travel, if whatever possible version of time travel you believe in this scenario works, that if I could go back in time and kill Hitler, and it had no negative ramifications, it would only be positive, and I could predict those outcomes, evidentially, scientifically, guaranteed, know what would happen if I killed Hitler, and all of those outcomes were positive, certainly I would do that. Because I don't know, because I can't know, I would not choose to fuck with everybody's lives. Because certainly worse could have happened. And I do not want to be the responsible party of that. Nor would I really want to ever take another human life.
14. Why is stem cell research so important?
Well, this is a little obvious, so I'll just cover it. Everything that can extend human life is important. And that's because I personally feel that even if there is a God, there is very unlikely to be any form of afterlife. And even if there is a form of afterlife, many versions of the Christian Bible and other religions believe that we will not remember this life. So this is the only shot you get, is this one. And if stem cell research or any other type of non-evil research, and I'll cover that in a second, why I don't think stem cell research is evil, it allows us to experience more of this life, to progress our lives further, to progress society further, and to do more good. End of story. And do I think stem cell well, it's silly. It's silly. Your teeth, our teeth, my teeth, we all have stem cells in our bodies throughout our lives. It's certainly got a bad rap because we're harvesting babies or whatever possible reason you would not like stem cells. But for the most part, it's just another way for us to hopefully potentially extend human life further so that we can live longer and do more good.
15. Is abortion evil? 6.
Well, I don't really know what your definition of good or evil is. I used the word good a lot so far, and so the idea of not doing harm to other people is very important to me. And so it's interesting that I would say it would be all right to harm a baby. I would never personally want a child of mine to be aborted, nor would I want to personally perform an abortion. But there are certain situations in this world that the life of a child is better spent blinking out of existence, never knowing pain, never knowing suffering, never knowing harm, than it would be to be born into a terrible situation in which it's unwanted and unloved. And so some of you are aware of my rough background, and I often think to myself, would I want to have been aborted knowing what I had to endure and what I've endured so far? And the truth of the matter is, no, I'm glad for my life and I'm lucky to have it. But even as bad as my life has been, it's privileged compared to some. And I think it's always needs to be an option for some folks. Though I hope that it's only used in the most dire situations. But I think it needs to be a legal option. And I personally would never condone it or necessarily do it myself. I don't think less of somebody who does it, who feels the need to abort their child or to I mean, it's just one of those things. You know, it's tough, it's hard, but life is hard. You know.
16. What would the circumstances need to be for you to approve of torture as an individual?
The Amazing Atheist actually kind of hits the nail on the head here for me. If the person that is doing the torture has been tortured themselves, I think that's kind of a prerequisite. You know, in order for a cop to carry a taser in most states, they have to take a class in which they get tasered themselves. You know, and I think that's good, and I think it's important. And I think it's important for anyone that would ever consider torturing another individual to have endured the exact torture that he's about to perpetrate on that person for as long, for those reasons. Well, not necessarily for those reasons, but for as long in that way. You know, if you've endured 36 hours worth of torture, then maybe it's all right for you to torture somebody for 36 hours. And if you've been waterboarded for 36 hours, then you should be okay to waterboard for 36 hours. Beyond that, I think that it should only really be in the most dire circumstances, because it's just my moral code, which is to do no harm, to be good, you know, to try to do good things and not bad things, and only when it would serve a greater good should it ever be considered, and I mean a very serious good. You know, Bill Gates says he'll give away all his the rest of his fortune to charity if he gets tortured for 48 hours. Hey, beat the shit out of the guy. You know. Will it save a life? Maybe. Will it save 100 lives? Now you're talking. Would it prevent 9/11? Hey, if I had to torture the person, then no, never. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I'd choose not to. But that said, if someone out there did and prevented 9/11, that'd be kind of cool.
17. Should we try to save animals from going extinct?
Well, it depends. And my point of view is kind of interesting, because animals need to go extinct. They cease serving an ecological function and should disappear. And in those cases, that's fine. And for those ones that continue to serve an ecological function, we should promote that species so that it can continue to perform and keeping the eco balance in the way that it should be done, in the way that it currently needs to exist. And certainly because medical research and other things could use all the different forms and all the different types of life in this world until we've exhausted every possibility of every life form. We should try to preserve as many as we can in the hopes that we finally can, you know, prolong our lives so that we can do more good.
18. Do you approve of capital punishment? Explain.
Well, capital punishment is taking the life of another person. So you're probably aware that I'm not going to like that very much. However, there are certain circumstances in which someone could be so criminally insane that it is necessary to do that. Do I feel that there have been very many people like that in the history of humanity? No. Do I feel that even one of the 1,000 of the people that have met with capital punishment here in the United States deserved it? No. Certainly incarceration is a much better option, and it's often the most economic option, and a sentence to life sucks, but you know, a lot of the times that's certainly the best option. But yeah, no, killing is generally something I frown upon. I personally would never perpetrate such a thing. You know, but if someone is actually batshit insane, or I guess if you're, you know, truly, you know, like an 18th century Catholic possessed by the devil, I guess in maybe those rare circumstances, certainly.
19. Do you believe in aliens, ghosts, spirits, souls, any supernatural forces?
Okay, let's see. The easy answer to this is I live on a tiny little speck of dust circling another tiny little speck of dust that's in a tiny little cloud of dust that's amongst millions and billions and zillions of smaller clouds of dust that apparently, through observation, seems to go on for absolute infinity. So am I open to the idea that these things can exist? Certainly. Because I believe it was Einstein who even said, the world, my work is correct as long as, the world is as I perceive it. Because we may not necessarily even perceive the world the way that it actually is. We're limited by our perception. Do I know what's going on? Certainly. I know in my heart what I can view and what I can feel and what I can see, and I truly believe in these things. The glass I'm drinking of is hard, the liquid inside of it is wet. Am I open to the possibility of more beliefs? Certainly. And if there is a way for me to observe an alien or observe a ghost or observe a god, then these things become just as natural to me as the glass you see me drinking out of every time I'm drinking in a video.
20. Would you sacrifice yourself for a loved one with the chance you may end up in hell for being atheist?
I don't believe in hell. If there is a hell, we're in it. I'm fairly certain of that. But that said, would I sacrifice myself for a loved one? I would hope that situation never comes up. I can think of a couple of people that I would sacrifice myself for. And, that said, am I afraid that I'll go to hell not believing in whatever? If there's a God, and for some reason he's aware of me, certainly aware enough of me to judge me, I think that he could observe that I'm open to his existence, and I'm open to the idea of his love, or his second chance, or his invitation to his magical palace. I think he's aware of that. And I think he's aware that I'm a good person, and that I've done good things. So, that said, I don't think I would end up in hell anyway, if there is such a thing. Don't think there is. But, I guess that's up to, the great gray guy in the clouds to decide.
People who, for some reason or another, accept the authority of other people.
Brow, 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 brow.
21. Explain in detail the process of death. 20.
Oh, wow. Okay, this keeps going. The process of death. Some part of the body, the heart, the lungs, the eyes, the brain, ceases to function. And through complications of that, the rest of the body begins to stop functioning. The electrical synapses in the brain and the body stop firing, and at some point the brain discontinues the capacity to create the illusion of consciousness that we all share and enjoy so very, very much.
22. And this is a tricky one. Have you ever been dead?
I don't see how that's tricky. I've never been dead. So, sorry.
Well, I'm looking forward to all your video responses and comments, lady.
So, that's it. I'm interested in seeing your opinions, specifically on what I said, but as well, if the videos I'm referring to are in the sidebar, go take a look, watch them. If you like this video, rate it, subscribe, comment, and thank you for listening.